Hi, everybody, and welcome to my podcast. I am Jordana Barachav. I have a weekly Parsha video called Drink It In. And I have with me a friend that I made last year through work. This is Tzippy, everybody. She's going to tell us about herself, and then we'll tell you how we actually came to meet the first time. Go ahead, Tzippy. Tell everybody who you are.
Hi, everyone. And Jordana, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here. It's so much fun. And, this is great. So I'm sorry, what did you want me to ask?
Introduce yourself. Where are you from?
Oh, okay.
What do you do?
Sure. Okay. So I'm Tzippy. I'm located in Brooklyn. I have a company called Bird. We design a full line for ladies, a full modest line for ladies of all ages. It's something that the brand is Baruch Hashem going strong for 5 years. It's something that we love. It's something I'm proud of. It's something that the community recognizes. We design, we manufacture, we wholesale, we retail, and we have a website. And it's a full brand.
It's amazing. Yeah. Let me tell everybody how we actually met, and then I'll tell a funny story about your name. I don't know if you remember this story. So I was doing a program for my work. I work at Yavna Academy in the mornings, and I do programming. And I really wanted to get the message across that you could be hip and cool and modest at the same time.
Which is something that we really, really, really pride ourselves on. Like it's something that it's such a fantastic way to look at it.
Yes, and it's important so that that girls today you shouldn't feel like, oh no, this rule, that rule, but you should feel good about yourself when you wear your clothing and have that sense of respect and feel like you're with it. Right. So I had this idea to do a fashion show, and also at the same time we designed our own skirts. So one of the people that I came across was Tzippy. It was through another designer from England, Hannah Sufrin, who said, "Oh, I can't make it in." She said, "I can't make it. It's too much coming from England at that point in time."
She is a class act. I love her. House of Langry. She's so talented. She's amazing.
Yes, and so she sent me to you, and it was great. And I started talking to Tzippy. Tzippy's like, "Oh my gosh, right away, yes." And she came to talk to our middle school girls, which was great. And she even donated clothing to the actual fashion show. But it was very funny when Tzippy was, I think it was when I was introducing you for that first time. And it hit me when I introduced you, and I'm like, Bird. Oh, Tzipora, Bird. I was like, I didn't understand why you had named your company that until.
By the way, just for naming the company Bird, it's such a great conversation piece, and it has such a good element to the brand that I'm just happy that we have the name Bird just for that alone.
Yeah, it was so funny how it, like, sometimes things are so obvious, but they're not to somebody. That was like hysterical for me.
So really, that's what it is. My name is Tzippy, in Hebrew means bird, and it just works. It works with everything. It works with my personality. It works with the aesthetic of the brand. It just Baruch Hashem, it just works.
It just I hear that. Same thing when I called my little videos Drink It In. I remember one of my kids said, why is it called Drink It In? Email, like, why do you call it that? I said, well, I want you just to soak in all that Torah, like let it come in, and it's really based off of this concept that they talk about in the Pirkei Avot, that a person should be so thirsty for Torah that you should just want to drink it and drink it and drink it, and you can't get enough.
Right. So so what you're saying is something absolutely so beautiful, and it's deep, and it's something that is it's something that requires a true effort and a true concentration. But you know how they say in Tefillah, in Elu Devarim, it says, Elu Devarim Shadam Ochel Perisem Ba'olam Hazeh V'Hakeren Kayemes Lo Li'olam Haba. And one of the things is in Tefillah. So you kind of like think to yourself, like, I don't understand, like, how is it that the Keren Kayemes Lo Li'olam Haba, we understand, but Shadam Ochel Perisem Ba'olam Hazeh, that we enjoy the fruits of our labor in this world, and it's in Tefillah. So how does, like, in Tefillah, I understand for Olam Haba, but how does it get into this world? And the truth is, when a person takes time to concentrate, and like you said, to really drink it in, they enjoy. It's sort of like a therapy session, sort of like when you incorporate Torah into your life. It's not just you learn Torah out of Eino Vado and Shema Yisrael, and you have, Yerushalayim, and it's what is required of us. But it's such an elevated level where you have that the Ian Tefillah gives you tools to hold on to that I find as therapeutic. It has calming elements and soothing elements and elements that give you hope and inspiration. And you know that like you take your problems and you just put it onto someone bigger than us, greater than us, our creator, our father. And just having that's achieved through Ian Tefillah, and having that is so calming. And I think that's where you get to enjoy the benefits of it in this world.
Right. And so interesting that you mentioned to be therapeutic, because I think I remembered correctly when you came to our school last year and you were talking about how you got started in this field. It was something that was your creativity. You want to tell us about it? How you first started in fashion and everything? Because I think that is therapeutic for you also.
Absolutely. I remember when I spoke. So basically, I really think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave every person something to hold on to. As kids,
right. That I remember you talking about that, the passion. Everyone has a passion.
Yeah, everyone has something, and it's true, and it's something that doesn't go away, and it's something that is it's timeless, and it's eternal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created every person with something. As kids, we call it hobbies. As adults, if it's cultivated and curated and enhanced, and you go about it correctly, as adults, it could turn into a successful career that you just love. Like I love what I do. So basically, I've always loved to design, and I hated shopping, and I couldn't understand because I loved clothes, but I didn't understand what part of the element that I enjoyed, and that until I figured out that I just love to design and to create and to make pieces. So I used to make my own pieces, and then my friends used to call me for me to make their pieces because they like mine, and then they brought me their friends and etc. And it turned into basically what I did was at first I did custom clothing, so it was one per client, and it was beautiful. I developed such beautiful friendships that really lasted me till today. Fast forward a couple of years later, I'm still friends with the clients that started with me then, and I just figured that if I'm working so hard on one piece, I might as well take that design and make more of it. So we were able to start developing a collection, and Baruch Hashem, we reached a point where our seasons have about 30 styles.
Wow.
It started from like one custom dress from one client, and then it just, Baruch Hashem, it was curated and cultivated, and we went with it.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, when you talk about the social media platform, what was like your initial feelings about it? Where'd you go with it? You now bringing fashion into whether it be Instagram or anything else that you're using.
So, in order for a business to be successful, it needs to have the most effective form of marketing, and it needs to be produced well. So when I started my line, I started it with like $2. It wasn't something, it was a hobby. It wasn't an investment. Okay. And I figured, well, I'm not ready to get a professional model and a professional studio and a professional photo shoot. I only have like 2 styles. And I stood in front of my mirror and I took a selfie in my beautiful foyer. And, Baruch Hashem, like I designed my house, and I had this mirror, and I just stood in front of it and I took a mirror, and it became a thing. Like it went, I'm not going to say it went viral, but it sort of did. And it like people were like, oh wait, and it caught wind just through my selfies. Now, obviously I grew out of that. I graduated that. Every here and there, I'll still incorporate my mirror selfie in my foyer.
Yes, I love when you do that. You should know. I love that.
You do?
Personal touch. I do. I'm always like, ooh, I love that she put the shoes with that.
Right. So that's the styling. You know what? Good. Then I'm glad to know that it doesn't have an expiration date, because that's the thing with marketing. You just always have to keep pushing yourself and inventing the next campaign that's going to be creative, that's going to capture your audience. So again, going back, we started with the mirror, the selfie in the mirror, and the designs were beautiful. And Baruch Hashem, I was able to style it well too. And I just kept posting it. At the end of the day, you have to know your strongest form of marketing. Like right now, before people look at a magazine, like an actual magazine, I find that people, like most of my clients tell me, they're like, I just look at magazines on Shabbos. That's what they tell me. So it's fantastic that we have that, but I'm saying the most effective form of marketing for a product right now is social media. So you just have to go with it, and you have to enhance that well.
Did you find any obstacles along the way when you were first starting out with the social media?
Um, it's always so, like what I was saying right before we went, like, there's something that I put together, like this thought that I put together. It's called the 4 C's.
Yes. Oh,
It's,
yes. Please say the four
so
C's. Right? Yeah.
right. So the 4 C's is, and this is really the essence of good marketing and the essence of what a brand needs. It's the 4 C's: constantly creating creative content. It needs to be constant. It needs to be creating. It needs to be creative, and it needs to be something. It needs to be content. And if you're not doing that, then you're not doing any. Then your brand isn't there. So it's the challenge, and being that social media is the most effective form of marketing for most brands today. The challenge is to constantly create, to constantly take your aesthetic and push it and enhance it and change it around if it needs to be changed around, and invest into things that the content needs.
Right.
And if you're not doing that, then then you're falling. You're either moving or you're not.
Oh, it's so interesting. I love how you said that, because I always talk about Judaism. If you're not moving
Same.
forward,
You're right.
then you're going down. If you're not
100%.
growing, then.
But it's like that with everything. It's like that in relationships. It's like that with friendships. It's like that with work. It's like that, with your religious application, with your spiritual application. Anything that requires any effort doesn't come easy, but it's worth the results, but it's constant.
Right. Constant work. So now, do you think you've achieved your goals that you set out? Have you surpassed them?
No,
Oh,
not even a little. No, because there is Hodu Hashem. I have, and I don't take this for granted because I realize that it's a bracha, but at the same time, it's also a challenge. I consider myself a pretty ambitious person. And when you're ambitious, you reach a goal and then you realize, wait a second, but you got to do it again, or you got to push more. And the days that I find that like I'm less ambitious and less determined are the days that I'm having like a harder time. The days that let's say, not as determined, those are the days that I'm falling, and I don't like that. So the challenge is to constantly, like, I have this need to be ambitious. Baruch Hashem, it's a bracha, but it's also hard when I don't measure up to that.
So now you
Right.
are a mom also, and you have a family, Baruch Hashem. And I know you just even made a bar mitzvah recently. So
Yes.
that.
Thank you. And I'm cutting my baby's hair next week.
Oh,
on
wow.
Purim. So we went from bar mitzvah to upsharon. So Baruch Hashem, I'm grateful, and it's a beautiful thing to be focused on these type of things.
Right.
So you know what, it really comes down to, and this is a bracha that Hakadosh Baruch Hu gave women. Men have it plenty too, but I find that like my friends get it. We get it. We're multitaskers. We are, mom. It's master of multitasking. That's what it is. We're moms, and we just have to figure out that balance, right? And obviously that's a challenge. I feel lucky because the years that my kids are in school a full day, Baruch Hashem, like they're out, they leave at like a little bit after 8, and my son gets home at 6, my other daughter gets home at 5. So now Baruch Hashem, my baby, he gets home early, he gets home at 3. So my day's over by then, but I do have good help. But I'm saying I had the years that I was able to invest in those hours because my kids were out for longer. And I was able to grab onto that and be able to manage my time. So I was able to push the brand.
Right.
Baruch Hashem, I still need to do that, but I'm saying it's a brand. Like, people recognize it, people know it. Baruch Hashem. So yeah. I still need to work hard because I still need to work different. And like I said before, if you're not pushing, you're falling. If you're not growing, you're falling. So we're growing it. We're trying to grow in different ways, but it's just a matter of really being focused and being scheduled and being focused and scheduled. Like, that's it. That's what you need.
So can I
yeah.
So now I know, like, you start off by saying that originally you used to start with your selfie, but and from time to time, you bring that back in for the flavor of the brand. But do you envision having your kids part of it? Because I remember you had once mentioned that your daughter helps from time to time to come up
Yes.
with a design. Now, would you
Yeah.
think about maybe having your daughter model, or
Right.
what is your thinking? Like when you started this, did you ever say to yourself, oh, my kids are my kids, I'm not going to have them on that social media platform? Or you know what? This is organic. This is me. This is Bird. This
Right.
is my brand, and my brand is who I am. And I'm a mom too. So let's make it all one happy family. Like, what's your
So,
thinking?
so it's a good question. And it's an answer that has, it's a question that has many, many different answers and very different variables and different elements. And it's constantly changing as well. So when I started the brand, my kids were much younger, and I like the idea of doing like a kids line too. We didn't do the kids line because we're focusing on the ladies line. But if we do bring a kids line, my kids will represent it. But until then, um, so when I started the brand, my kids were like little, and it was like, it was cute. So I put them on a little bit. Now I have a teenage daughter, and the social media, the girls are faced with so much pressure nowadays. And there's like, girls are exposed to social media for the good and for the maybe not so good. And there are so many elements of it that I'm like, I don't want this for my kids. But in a way, every here and there, I do share my personal information. Like I will share pictures of my, or show my followers, something nice that's going on at home. Because I think it's nice to share. I don't like to overshare.
Mhm.
It's nice to put it that, I guess, like everything in life, in doses and moderation.
Mhm.
Moderation. Like I always say, TOO is the demise of all. Too much of anything is just cause for ruin. It's finding that balance. I don't want them on my page too much. I don't mind putting them a little bit. If my daughter, when my daughter does something that helps the business or that is involved with the business, I'm happy to share it. But in general, like I don't want her like standing in front of the mirror taking a selfie, and I don't want that for her. She doesn't want it for herself either. She's not at that point in her life where she wants to, and I'm glad that we're on the same page. Like if she would tell me, Ma, I want to, and sometimes I'll be like, do you want me to? And they're like, no, no, no. And they're like, okay, maybe a little bit. I don't mind asking them because I trust their judgment. Like I trust that it's their decision. Not just that it's their decision. Ultimately, it's my decision. It's what I want, it's what I think would be best for my children. But I like to give them that platform. I like to give them that, let's say that opportunity to say, you know what, Ma, yeah, I want to. Like last year, a friend sent over a product that she asked me to help her launch. So I had my daughter do it, and it was cute and it was fun. Like I said, in doses. And I don't mind giving the kids like a chance here and there. But like they don't want more than that, and I don't want more than that. And I'm happy that we're on the same page with that.
Okay, so it's like sprinkle it here, sprinkle it there.
Yeah, but
little bit.
but not an overindulgence, because um I guess like I'm not looking to, I want it to be about the brand. And if the brand needs my help for my personal life, I'm doing something with the brand. So I got to fix the brand.
Okay, I hear
So
you.
like I said, doses, I think doses are nice, but more than that, like an exploitation of my super personal life is not something that should be the focus for my brand, because like I said, then I have to fix the brand.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Then the brand, there's something fine tuning that needs to be done. If you have to get to that
We
point,
go deeper.
right,
Right.
to hear that.
Well, I want to go deeper for the brand, but
right,
not through my family.
right. I hear that. I like that point
Right.
a lot. Thank you.
Yeah,
Now, looking
no, okay.
back,
Yeah,
looking back now, so you said you've been doing this how many years now?
five
5 years.
Baruch
And looking
Hashem.
back at your 5 years, it's like, we take a back in memory lane. What would you say for your brand was like a highlight, your proud moments? What were maybe some regretful moments? Maybe let's start with the regretful moments, and then we'll end on the positive note. So like looking back, you're like, oh, I really shouldn't have done that. Is there something like that you came across?
Yeah, of tons, 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 tons. um, every time before I start, I'm smart enough, Baruch Hashem, to realize that everything is adds to the learning curve. The mistakes are okay to happen because it helps you grow and it helps you develop into something better. If you make the same mistake twice, then that's the problem. So my mistakes have taught me what not to do. And I take that and I hold on to that. I'm like, oh, I remember when I did this. Oh, I remember when I did that. I'll give you one example. I designed this beautiful dress, and the production of it. And I had to commit to a certain quantity. I think I had to make like 300 or 400 pieces of it. It was a fortune of money. It was, and I was just so confident with this dress. And, I felt like, one thing that could be a challenge is when you grow too fast. When you grow too fast, you're more likely to make mistakes. At that point, there weren't so many, at that point, like Baruch Hashem, like we had a good season, and there weren't so many other, other elements that made the business harder. Like we were knocking out pieces that were just like, each one was a hit, one after another, Baruch Hashem. And I had this one dress and I was just so overly confident with it. I invested an enormous amount of money. The dress was horrific. Every element of the dress was bad. And we just had to figure out how to sell it and get rid of it. We donated some, we put it on sale. Some stores took it. Some stores were like in love with it. And I was like, how? Even I don't like it. And so production is one of the parts of the business that's always the scariest investment, because obviously that's the most expensive part of the business. And the second you put something into production, you need to make sure that all the elements are correct. Like, it's crazy how much goes into every tiny detail, even just like where you're putting buttons and what type of buttons are you using, and the seam allowance and so many technical elements. It's really like sort of like engineering, even though, I'm just trying to make myself sound fancier like that. No, I'm just kidding. There are so many tiny details that if you skip a detail, you could take something that could be perfect and make it horrible and awful. So I definitely had a couple of mess ups with production. Like that one particular dress, I remember, like, I just remember that was like my biggest mess up, I would have to say.
So I guess,
but we've had some others, some others too.
I think like, from what you're saying, I would gather then any mistake you made, you're happy about it because you've learned from it. And also that looking back, no shortcuts. Do not do any shortcuts, and no matter what you're doing, especially in the clothing line.
Ever. By the way, anything.
And anything, right?
Anything.
And also, speed is not the name of the game, right? You got to take your time.
Cultivate.
Right.
But you also have to learn. Like, another challenge of the business is getting the timeline right. I'm doing this for a number of years, but as the business just keeps going, there are so many more elements that I didn't know then that I know now. And certain things are like the ABCs of the business. And one of them is the timeline. Right. Like, we just finished our spring line and it's in production now. But really, like, there were so many different elements between COVID and just things that changed with my overseas manufacturers that it delayed my production, but it should have been here already, So like, even though I'm doing this and I know the calendar, you don't know the calendar well enough until you realize, oh, oops. So the calendar in fashion, especially in Jewish stores, the stores that I sell to, it's so important because they need their stuff early. They need it delivered. They need it on the racks. And if it's not, then they're not ordering.
Right. And they're not going to sell.
So you sometimes, like, when a store tells you, sorry, your delivery date is too late, that's when you learn not to do that again. Right. So in a way, I'm grateful for the mistakes, because the mistakes, like I said, it teaches you. And if you're not going to learn, then you're just going to keep making mistakes,
What would be a proud moment for you?
So I have to tell you, Baruch Hashem, we've had some beautiful proud moments, and it's the proud moments that really pushes me to get more and to. So one of them was one of the directors, one of the creative directors of Project Runway emailed me a few years ago, and he asked me if I would be interested in applying to the show. Oh. And I was like, I was like, crazy. And then that was a beautiful moment for me. Like, I took I had that screenshot, and you have to sort of like applaud yourself along the way, because that encourages you. As much as you need encouragement from the elements of the business, like the stores and the customers, and you need it from yourself as well. And it's okay to recognize that, oh wow. And obviously that this is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And obviously, when something like this happens, the first thing I say is thank you, Hashem, because if not that, who am I? Like, it all starts from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I say, thank you, Hashem. And then I say, wow, like good, good, keep it up. I raised the bar for myself. So that was definitely a beautiful moment for me. Another great opportunity that really made me realize, oh wait, this is something. A year ago, a company, a TV channel in Florida called Planet Fashion. Actually, I'm sorry, it was 2 years ago. They reached out to me and they did a full feature on modest clothing. They were like, they never met a religious woman before.
Wow.
They were blown away by the brand that pieces, because they have, they only work with non-Jews, so they know modest fashion, but they're not fully aware of all of the details of the laws of modesty. And when we were just going through the styles, we did a whole beautiful photo shoot together. We did a great interview that was aired on Miami Fashion TV. That was like a fun experience. And that was like also something else. Like I met some celebrities that they work with, that was a great moment.
Wow.
And just the level of just being able to give them that exposure of what we are and who we are, even as Jews, like they were just blown away. They were blown away. And that was a beautiful moment because I really had an opportunity to make a Kiddush Hashem.
Wow. Wow. You know what from just talking to you, even though we knew each other for a little bit, can I share just some of the insights? And I think that the audience really like that because that's me. I like to wrap up and go over things. Besides, I love the fact that you have your little the 4 C's and the mom, and I love all those little catch little things. Those are cute. Those are great little ones to have all the time at your fingertips.
So I have a friend who calls it Tzippyisms.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay, there. So I'm catching on. But what I think I'm noticing is this, when you were talking about just now about the importance of the self-validation, you were saying that, you have gotten the outside validation, but you also know the importance that you just have to feel good about yourself and validate yourself. And that's what's important. And I'm listening to you and I'm hearing is balance. I think that would be the best word I could give for Bird. Your brand is balance in all areas. And I think it stems because you're balanced. That's what you're presenting, a balanced, healthy person. And obviously you want that to come out in your clothing. And I think that's what's so amazing. You're talking about balance in your spirituality. You were just saying there continued growth that you need to have. You got to continue moving. And you said that carries over to all aspects of our life, whether it be the relationship you have with people or relationship you have with Hashem, God, whatever it might be in your business, you have to be constantly moving forward. That's balance, knowing the balance. Right. And when you make the mistakes, you saying, no, that's balance, because that's going to help you grow for the next one. Just don't make the mistake again.
Again, right.
Don't make the mistake. Then you're off balance if you made it a second time. And then just that idea of when we spoke about social media and whether using your children or not using your children or having them appear. I don't want to use the word using, but having them appear.
Let's call it what it is. Let's manipulate them. I'm just
right. No, I want to be careful the choice words I use. Use again. But the idea of are we going to showcase or not showcase? And I think the way you presented it was also about balance and that you have an open discussion with your children about it. Yeah, and I know you were nervous when you were saying that's not up to them. No, I think what we're meaning to say, of course it's not up to them, but they're involved in the discussion and they're involved in that discussion and I
do respect their opinion, like once upon a time, I was a 15-year-old girl and I knew what I wanted then too, and it's okay for us to, respect that in them because they're entitled to feel that way.
Right. But that's again, the beauty of your balance, so
wow.
I think that's really wonderful how you presented everything. And if you wanted to end off with giving, besides the 4 C's, if somebody wanted to start off in this industry or was going to do something and they were going to get into the social media world, what would be your takeaway advice, you think, to them?
Okay. So slow and steady wins the game. Don't overinvest. If you're going to overinvest, you're going to crash and burn before you know it. I want you to know the biggest bracha for me was that when I started the business, I refused to take any money that either that we have in our savings or that we haven't, whatever that we have, or borrow from, like, I refused. I was terrified of getting into debt. And it forced me to start slow, but it also helped me be safer. My decisions were more calculated. I didn't overspend. I didn't, rush into anything, because I refused to touch money that I was scared that I would just burn through. So start as slow and as little as possible. If you're going to grow it, growing is wonderful, but I'm saying to get yourself to grow, you got to start slow. You also have to just keep at it. Consistency is key. It's a line that everyone is familiar with, and it's true. You want something, you just stay focused and you stay consistent and keep pushing, slow and steady. And then before you know, before you know it, you'll look back in a year from now, and 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, and be like, whoa, remember that? Or, I remember I had a rack in my dining room, and now Baruch Hashem, we're in about 25 stores. We developed 30 styles a season. It's going. It still has a long way to go. Just like you look back, you also got to look at where you want to go. It still has a long way to go, and I keep pushing it. Just keep going, but slow. And you'll know, your brand will know when you're ready to take the next step. No one else can tell you when. You will know.
Okay. Now, if people want to find your clothing, Tzippy, where is the best way to access your clothing?
So, okay, a couple of things. Baruch Hashem, we have a strong presence on Instagram. It's Bird by Tzippy, Bird with a B, with a Y. Oh, yes. It's a little late. Bird with a Y, BYRD by Tzippy. We also have a great website, Bird NYC, BYRD, NYC.com. And we are also in most Jewish stores in New Jersey and New York and Florida and Chicago and Israel and London. And then I also have, so I'm saying I also have a location by me in Flatbush. So we work by appointments there too. Okay. So it's Instagram, it's the website, it's the stores.
Okay. Sounds great, Tzippy. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you. You are so, you're on point. Like you get it. You're so collected and you're so eloquent, and you should have so much hatzlacha. You're so great at this.
Oh, amen. Thank you so much, Tzippy.
Thank you.